Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased. Oh, my apologies.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we will now proceed to the confirmation of the quorum so we may receive the Prime Minister of the Bahamas. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, meaning we have delegations both here on site and connected from outside of headquarters. We have the following delegations attending this morning: Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominica, Ecuador, El Salvador, the United States of America, Grenada, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, the Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, and Uruguay. We have quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Assistant Secretary General. Good morning. I am pleased to declare open this protocolary meeting of the Permanent Council, which has been convened to receive the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, His Excellency the Honourable Philip Edward Davis, KC, and the order of business is now approved. I invite you all, please, to rise as we welcome His Excellency the Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you. Please be seated. Your Excellency, Honourable Philip Edward Davis, KC MP, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the Chairman of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and distinguished members of your accompanying delegation, Your Excellency, the Honourable Frederick Mitchell, MP, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Ambassador Chet Nemo, Permanent Representative of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to the Organization of American States, His Excellency Ambassador Wendell Jones, Ambassador of the Bahamas to the United States, distinguished permanent and interim representatives of the member states, Your Excellency Luis Almagro, Secretary General, Ambassador Nestor Mendez, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished permanent observers, ladies and gentlemen, again, good morning. It is my honor, as permanent representative of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and chair of the Permanent Council of the OAS, to warmly welcome to the House of the Americas the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and the Chairman of CARICOM, His Excellency the Honourable Philip Edward Davis, KC MP. Excellency, the OAS Permanent Council extends cordial greetings in solidarity and support as fellow nations of this hemisphere. And this morning, we welcome you to the Organization of American States, immediately acknowledging that the tropical tourist-sought beauty of the islands of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas would add even more warmth to this special occasion. Likewise, we extend our most sincere congratulations and our best wishes for success in your recent assumption as chair of the Caribbean Community. The eminent Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is known both locally and internationally as an acclaimed corporate and human rights lawyer, a highly distinguished legal educator, a passionate sports person, and a Toastmaster. He received his early education at the Old Bight All-Age School in Cat Island and the Eastern Junior and Senior Schools and St. John's College in New Providence. A former member of the Council of Legal Education for CARICOM, he has made an unprecedented contribution to legal education in the Caribbean region. Prime Minister Davis twice served as Vice President of the Bar Council before becoming President of the Bahamas Bar Association in 1995. He was appointed as Queen's Counsel in 2015 by the late Queen Elizabeth II and retains that recognition as a King's Counsel with the ascension of King Charles III. During his political career, Prime Minister Davis has been a Member of Parliament since 2002. In 2009, he was elected Deputy Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. After the party's resounding win in the 2012 general election, he was then appointed Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Works and Urban Development of the Bahamas. The Honourable Philip Edward Davis is the 5th Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, where he also serves as Minister of Finance. Honourable Prime Minister, you have an enviable and long-standing record of service to your country, your people, and our hemisphere. Since joining the OAS in 1982, the Bahamas has maintained active engagement with the organization. This is evident in the Bahamas' consistent participation on the Management Board of the Inter-American Agency for Cooperation and Development, which steers the development agenda of the OAS, and among other things, oversees funds used to enhance the OAS scholarships and training program. The Bahamas has also remained steadfast in its commitment to the work and initiatives of the Inter-American Committee Against Terrorism, SICTE, and the Inter-American Commission on Drug Abuse Control, CICAD. Furthermore, Your Excellency, the Bahamas continues to play a leading role in promoting fiscal governance reforms and adopting international best practices within this organization. In that vein, this Permanent Council has been pleased to elect by acclamation your country's permanent representative, Ambassador Chet Nemo, as the chair of the Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Affairs, CAP, for this year. Prime Minister Davis, we are confident that his vast experience and expertise will be of great value in addressing the financial challenges facing our organization at this transformational juncture in its existence. As the permanent representative of Trinidad and Tobago, a fellow CARICOM nation, I reiterate our shared and deep commitment to advancing initiatives within the CARICOM region and the broader hemisphere in the areas of climate change and development financing, energy security, food and nutrition security, global and regional economic integration, multidimensional resilience and security, and sustainable and integral human and social development, and of course, for progress in Haiti. Honourable Prime Minister, OAS member states thank you for your visit today. In accordance with the order of business of this protocolary meeting, at this time, I am pleased to offer the floor to Mr. Luis Almagro, Secretary General of the Organization of American States. Secretary General, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, distinguished colleagues and friends, it is with great pleasure that I welcome Prime Minister Philip Davis here today. Firstly, Prime Minister, I wish to extend my warmest congratulations to you on becoming the new chair of CARICOM. The CARICOM constituency of the OAS has provided a strategic balance and reasoning on matters that affect all the peoples of the Americas. The values of good neighborliness and a firm belief in the democratization of our institutions is what positions the Caribbean region among us. It is also for this reason why I have listened to my Caribbean brothers and sisters keenly, and I emphasize with their pride on issues related to climate change, minimal access to concessional financing, energy, and other risks associated with food insecurity and national security. To this end, I take this moment to fully support your pledge as CARICOM Chair to address the issue of climate change, recognizing the alarming vulnerabilities and exogenous shocks that the OAS member states are exposed Two, as a result of climate change, the OAS General Secretariat presented its report called Climate Change, Life, Democracy, Freedom, Justice, Equality in October 2022. The report emphasizes, among other matters, the urgent need to tackle the issue of climate change through international mediums and public sectors and private sector engagement to model policy that seeks to avoid the displacement of our people in the Western Hemisphere. We share your priorities as chair of CARICOM. Prime Minister, in its 41st year of membership to the Organization of American States, your country has played a significant role in supporting the OAS mandate to promote democracy, peace, and security and development within the region. Indeed, Prime Minister, the Bahamas has a track record of holding free and fair elections and has displayed its confidence in the OAS Charter by inviting the OAS Electoral Observation Mission 3 times, the last of which saw you succeed in becoming Prime Minister in September 2021. We applaud the democratic commitment of your nation's people for securing just and peaceful measures to maintain democracies in the Americas. We must never relent on denouncing all acts of aggression towards our people and democratic institutions. The rule of law must always prevail, and there is no reward for chaos and anarchy. Prime Minister, I believe we share the same desires in what we want to provide the people of the Americas with responsible and accountable governance. Criminal elements that seek to corrupt our institutions must not be allowed to succeed. And so I welcome this journey with you, Prime Minister, in the coming months as CARICOM chairs and the future beyond with your country to promote a stable and peaceful solution of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. I now have the distinct honor to offer the floor to His Excellency the Honourable Philip Edward Davis, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and Chairman of CARICOM. Honourable Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Chair of the Permanent Council, His Excellency Phillips-Spencer, Ambassador of Trinidad and Tobago, Secretary General, my good friend, Luis Almagro, it's good to see you again, Assistant Secretary General, Nestor Mendez, ambassadors, diplomatic representatives, and friends. I bring greetings today both as Prime Minister of the Bahamas and Chair of the Caribbean Community. I do so at an auspicious time and occasion for both my country and CARICOM, both of which are primed to celebrate 50 years of formal existence this year. For the Bahamas and for the states of CARICOM, it has been a journey that in actuality stretches back centuries to the fateful meeting of the Old and New World on the shores of San Salvador, incidentally, an island in a constituency that I represent in Parliament in my country. An island that is built on the backs of the victims of slavery and native genocide, fueled by the blood, sweat, and tears of our forebears who strive for decolonization, self-determination, and majority rule. And that has been shaped by the modern realization that functional cooperation among sovereign states is the most effective means to confront the common challenges that we face. It is therefore indeed a great honor and pleasure to address this council today in this hallowed hall of the Americas. This organization, the OAS, and its predecessors, the Bureau of American Republics and the Pan-American Union, were built upon the intrepid foundation of Simon Bolivar's dream of unity among the sovereign states across the continent nearly 200 years ago. A dream that, while temporarily deferred at that time, has borne fruit in each successive iteration of this body as it sought to keep pace with the frenetic evolution of the hemisphere, at first reflecting the ambitions of the new republics in South America, then responding to the upheavals of the conflicts of the early 20th century, eventually expanding its membership to include the newly independent island states of the Caribbean, and dealing with the new political and economic paradigms that emerged in the wake of the Cold War. The OAS has much to be proud of as the world's oldest regional organization, one that has been at the vanguard of global standards around democratic, economic, and social rights. One of the most enduring characteristics of this institution over time, however, has perhaps been its adaptability, its capacity to be remade to meet the exigencies of the moment. We know that the challenges of our countries and the hemisphere are protracted stark inequality and economic dislocation, the unacceptable levels of citizen insecurity plaguing our societies, and the increasing strain on our democratic and human rights institutions. Friends, I believe that we are at another critical juncture in our hemisphere's history, where the relevance of this organization is being tested and where we must once again set our minds collectively to move beyond the reflex to become mired in lamentation and introspection. And we must, with the fierce urgency of now, move towards taking concrete action to renew this organization and our wider inter-American system to ensure fitness for purpose and readiness for such a time as this. If the OAS is to maintain its relevance for the small island and low-lying coastal developing states among its membership, it must do more to support climate action across the Americas. My country of the Bahamas is the proverbial patient zero for man-made climate change. We do not need to look further than the destruction wrought a little over 4 years ago by Hurricane Dorian, a storm which, while unprecedented in intensity and duration at the time, we know foreshadows the existential threats yet to come. While we advocate for developed countries and those that have most contributed to our plight to summon the moral fortitude to do more, we will still do all that we can to mitigate and adapt to climate change. The Bahamas is leading by example through transitioning the fleet of government cars to electric vehicles and retrofitting government buildings with renewable energy infrastructure. We are partnering with the Inter-American Development Bank to better leverage our sunny climes through supporting the construction of solar energy projects, including microgrids, grids for generation, and storage capacity in islands where electricity infrastructure was badly damaged by Hurricane Dorian. We are also leveraging our vast natural oceanic sinks through launching the world's first blue carbon credits, a regime that we hope more nations across the Americas can model. Friends, the Bahamas is doing its part to innovate and find solutions to the ever-present threat of climate change. But the hard truth is that it will not be enough. At least 11 major storms have made landfall in the Bahamas over the past decades, 2 decades. Bahamians do not need to look at the science to know that these storms are getting more intense, much more quickly, and for longer periods of time. More than half, or just approximately half, of my country's debt can be linked to the devastation caused by hurricanes. Being locked into a generations-long vicious cycle of devastation and recovery from storms not only crowds out development prospects, but also undermines socioeconomic stability, and countries like the Bahamas are perilously close to being all loaned out or borrowed out. This is an all too familiar story for our brothers and sisters across CARICOM and SECA. Our people are strong and resilient, but we will need support to meet the formidable environmental challenges that lay before us. We look to the OAS and the partner institutions which comprise the Inter-American system to resolutely implement the commitments made at the 9th Summit of the Americas and most recently at the Lima General Assembly on Climate Action. The Bahamas and countries like mine can benefit from the demonstrated capacity of the OAS with human development, training and capacity building in areas of urgent need such as climate-smart skills and disaster preparedness and recovery. One of this organization's great strengths is also its convening power. In the coming months, we look forward to this virtue being wielded not only for advocacy for greater global ambition in climate action, but also to build hemispheric consensus on priorities and opportunities for partnership. In this vein, I am pleased to advise that the Bahamas is currently giving strong consideration to hosting the next OAS Sustainable Development Ministerial Convocation, where the focus would be on climate action and climate finance. We are also examining the possibility of coordinating dedicated engagement between states and IFIs to derive a climate finance model that meets in real and tangible, mutually accepted terms with the needs of the region and hemisphere. Friends, the Bahamas and the wider CARICOM region believe that the time has come for business as usual models for development finance, cooperation, and aid to fall away. As the challenges to sustainable development have evolved, and as our understanding of development needs has become more comprehensive, so too must the institutions mandated to support our development innovate and produce financing models, lending strategies, and aid criteria that meet the moment. We must move towards incorporation of a more multidimensional set of criteria, which accounts for vulnerability as the standard assessment metric of development needs within our international financial institutions and aid agencies, at the very least, for projects focused on climate action, renewable energy, or disaster preparation, response, and recovery. We are pleased by the advancement being made at some of the multilateral banks within the hemisphere, such as the IDB and CDB, on better accounting for socioeconomic and environmental vulnerability, and now also for capacity to recover. But we hope to see this progress institutionalized across the inter-American development financing and aid architecture. With respect to climate finance, the Bahamas believes meaningful progress on the mandate for greater access, affordability, and adequacy of highly concessional and non-reimbursable funding for mitigation and adaptation efforts, particularly for small island and low-lying coastal development states, is long overdue. And again, we welcome the support of the OAS on engaging with development banks who serve the Americas and other relevant partners on this important matter. Our brothers and sisters in Haiti, the heirs of the great revolutionary Toussaint Louverture, deserve what all of our citizens expect: a country where each person feels safe, where each citizen has an equal stake in shaping political direction, where there is no want for basic needs, and where all can pursue their legitimate aspirations. The ongoing instability in Haiti poses a threat not only to the people of Haiti, but also for my country, the Bahamas, and neighbors in the region who face enhanced prospect of irregular and often dangerous migration. It is lamentable that there are currently no elected officials in Haiti. We laud, however, the recent political agreement reached between the transitional government, several opposition parties, and civil society on a framework to convene elections before the close of 2023, including the creation of a tripartite High Council to oversee the transitional period. We know that real work still remains, and we encourage all relevant actors to engage in good faith on the efforts to make political progress in Haiti. We also commend the proposal shared by the Haitian government to arrest the threat to public security posed by violent gangs, to undercut burgeoning food insecurity, and to quell the political crisis that has gripped the country. These Haiti-led solutions provide helpful alternatives to the usual inclinations to carry out activities about Haiti, without Haiti, and the predisposition to invest in the strengthening of the NGOs in Haiti as opposed to strengthening our public institutions. Yet, more must be done to help Haitians create the enabling environment for economic stability, maintenance of the peace, political reform, and rebuilding trust in public institutions. The Bahamas and CARICOM stands ready to support these efforts. However, our limited resources mean that we will need the assistance of our friends with greater means. The Bahamas calls for the creation of a standing forum at the OAS to discuss the practical steps member states and the inter-American institutions can take to continue supporting the people of Haiti. Chief among these steps could be the development of an integrated strategy to rebuild Haiti, such as was done with the Plan Colombia. With each passing day, Haiti's civilian police courageously take on the more than 100 violent gangs ravaging their country. Scale up capacity building for the local police and provision of material resources to buttress efforts to secure the deployment of humanitarian resources are needed now. Another area where enhanced regional partnership can be acutely effective is with tackling trafficking, particularly in people, contraband, and guns. The heartbreaking gang violence that we see in Haiti, particularly in areas such as Cité Soleil, are facilitated by access to illicit guns. These are not guns manufactured in Haiti, nor are they manufactured within the CARICOM region. The Bahamas is also being hard hit by illegal transshipment of guns, which has fueled recent incidents of violent crime. I reiterate, as I did at the most recent summit, that our region urges those states in the hemisphere which manufacture guns to further scale their cooperation with the region to limit the harmful proliferation of weapons of war on our streets. We commend the work of the OAS, that the OAS continues to do in this space through CICAD, CIFTA, and CICTE, and encourage efforts for even deeper cooperation across the hemisphere to meet the transnational challenges that trafficking in people, guns, and drugs pose to our collective peace and stability. Friends, it was not too long ago in my country that the voice and vote of someone who looked like me did not matter much. I was a teenager when my country finally secured majority rule, a concept integral to democracy as we appreciate it today. I, and many of you, are living testaments to not only how far some of our countries have come in a short time, but also the stark democratic realities to which we must never return. We know that democracy can be fragile. It is not something to be taken for granted. It is a state that must be earned and day by day renewed. Just 1 week ago, all of us watched in disbelief as the violent mob stormed government buildings in Brazil in an effort to overturn outcomes of free and fair elections that the mob did not agree with. Political violence in all its forms must be condemned and confronted and can never be tolerated anywhere in the Americas. I reiterate the solidarity of the government and people of the Bahamas and CARICOM with President Lula da Silva and the government of Brazil, and our unwavering commitment to democracy and the rule of law. The scenes in Brasilia, though, had years ago here in Washington, D.C. It should concern us all that the tactics of intimidation and aggression are becoming the preferred tools of those across our hemisphere, and indeed the globe, who feel entitled, tools to those who feel entitled to the trappings of power. We also know that there are growing factions within our society, often working across borders, who weaponize potentially earnest concerns around representations and good governance among citizens, impulses in order to sow discord and anarchy. I believe that the OAS can and should lead the way on facilitating greater hemispheric cooperation to deal with the newly emerging scourge of disinformation, which undermines public confidence in public institutions and seeks to unduly influence democratic outcomes. The Bahamas and the wider CARICOM region pride ourselves in our modern history of guaranteeing vibrant, free, fair, and open elections. We value the electoral observation work of the OAS and similarly mandated entities, which helps provide accountability for the democratic principles that we claim to espouse. However, we also believe these efforts must be done in an objective, impartial, and transparent manner with due respect for the principles of non-interference. As I survey this council, it is noteworthy that representatives for Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua are not present. After decades of expansion, loss of membership is a worrying trend. And while it is imperative that we hold each other to account for the high principles we have set for ourselves, if we are honest, there is much that we can learn from past approaches that can improve future outcomes. We do not see this organization as just a meeting of allies or friends. It is a meeting of the countries of the hemisphere who all are facing similar developmental, security, and democratic challenges, and who understand that collaboration and collective action will help us all. The Bahamas still believes that diplomatic solutions, consultation, and preserving an openness to talk to one another will lead to faster and more durable solutions. The Bahamas supports efforts to breathe a new life into the Inter-American Democratic Charter so that it can become more proactive and responsive to cracks and tremors in the fault lines of our democratic institutions. But our work in this space must always be guided by the need to prioritize consultation and diplomatic engagement. Lastly, friends, if we are to continue to build a prosperous, equitable, safe, and democratic Americas that we envision, we must soberly and constructively take stock of the multilateral architecture that undergirds our efforts. The good book warns us of the folly of trying to pour new wine into old skins. Are the institutions with our inter-American system still fit for purpose, or do they require recalibration, or in some cases, rethinking? Do our countries really value these institutions, the OAS, PAHO, ICA, and the IDB? I wish to affirm, on behalf of the people of the Bahamas, that we do value these institutions, and this is precisely why we are invested in seeing them work even better. Demonstrated relevance for meeting national priorities and, where pertinent, restoration of impaired trust within member states should drive our collective efforts around reform. We cannot, however, expect this organization or any of the other elements of the inter-American system to effectively work for us if we refuse to invest in them. 30 years ago, at the General Assembly convened in Nassau, our country saw fit to adopt a resolution reminding member states of their obligation to pay quotas. In real terms, accounting for inflation and cost of living adjustments alone, the regular budget for this organization today is about half of what it was then. Talk is indeed cheap, my friends. It is easy to renege on commitments, particularly when there are no costs to doing so, or to become captive to the complacency of the status quo, undesirable as it may be. But this organization is too important for us to continue to fiddle as it withers, and we betray our forebears and the promise of the OAS if we refuse to take restorative action. I therefore urge this Council, with dispatch, to commence and elevate to the highest levels the political discussions on concrete actions to be taken to begin to remedy the fiscal health of our organization. In conclusion, 30 years ago, the father of the modern Bahamas, former Prime Minister, the late Right Honourable Lyndon Pindling, opened the 22nd General Assembly in Nassau by admonishing that, and I quote, "What we do in this organization must always hark back to the people. All of our efforts will be meaningless." Close quotes. This is the purpose at the heart of our charter, whose opening words proclaim that, and I quote, "The historic mission of America is to offer to man a land of liberty and a favorable environment for the development of his personality and realization of his just aspirations. To meet these noble ambitions, the old impulses of egoism, domination, and exploitation that governed the engagement of prior generations must fall away if we are to achieve the full potential of the Americas. And in their place, we must build a new paradigm for hemispheric multilateralism, grounded in mutuality, respect, a focus on results, and an urgency that is commensurate to the task that lay before us. Our citizens grow impatient. They expect membership in multilateral institutions to count for something and to yield tangible benefits that they can touch and feel. They expect our governments to rise to the occasions of the great challenges of our time, mitigating climate change, facilitating sustainable development, shoring up public security, and preserving democracy. We have seen what the consequences are when we dither, when we submit to the allure of complacency or believe that we can leave solving our collective challenges to someone else or for some other time. What we know intimately in the Bahamas and across the CARICOM region is that no man is an island. What affects one impacts all, and many hands make light work. Friends, let this year be a year of collective and purposeful action for the OAS and the institutions of the inter-American system. Let us march forward, hand in hand, animated by that spiritual unity first dreamed of by Bolivar centuries ago. I'm convinced that our countries are up to the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your inspiring, insightful, and instructive presentation, Honourable Prime Minister. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this protocolary meeting. Thank you all for the honour of your attendance. And at this time, respecting social distancing guidelines, I invite you all to please proceed forward to be received by the Honourable Prime Minister individually, starting with the delegation closest to the exit and as guided by our Chief of Protocol and team. Please rise from your seats so that we may proceed now to be received by the Honourable Prime Minister. This meeting is adjourned.